What's up, everybody, and welcome to another This Week's Top 3. Today we're going to be taking a look at some of the best and newest gilded decks out there. But before we jump into it, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
And please give the bell a jingle.
So Steve, I gotta say, this is an episode that I've been waiting for a while because I absolutely love a good gilded deck. And I think we really picked out some bangers this week.
Yeah, I mean, they came in hot. They're definitely bringing the shimmer, that's for sure.
No doubt about it. These decks are going to absolutely pop. And I think, honestly, it's always tough with a gilded deck because everyone wants to gild a deck these days. But if you don't pick the right colors, if you don't line it up right, if it just doesn't feel natural, it can ruin a great deck. So these decks really,
100%.
Right? And I think these decks really picked some great colors to go with them and in some non-traditional ways, too. So why don't we roll into number 3 here?
Let's do it. Number 3 is a Wonder Playing Cards by Hage. And this deck is printed by USPCC on their classic stock. It is retailing for $30.
Nice, man. Let's check it out.
Obviously, beautiful tuck box with nice blue foil. I love the contrast between that light blue foil and the dark background. It really pops. And you and I both being huge Paisley fans, I had to get it right away.
No question about it. That matte navy paper for the tuck really does highlight that foil so well.
Yeah, and I really love how that white, that white color really pops on the front of the tuck as well.
Yeah, and it almost looks like kind of like a spot ink style versus like an actual like foil or anything like that.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And that blue, this deck definitely is perfect for blue gilding. Yeah. You know, it has obviously handles a little weird for a gilded deck, but it's a USPCC deck, and it does handle very well. Obviously, I muffled up a little bit, but it handles beautifully, and there's that beautiful back design. I just love Paisley.
I love that depth.
They did a really cool job.
Yeah, that depth that they have there for that is just beautiful.
Yeah, Lotus is peeking in there too. There's your dual jokers.
Very fun.
They're a little different, not duplicate jokers. Pretty fun. I wish I knew who that was. W.C. Marks. Really not familiar with him, but there's your Ace of Spades, which is basically pulls that Paisley design from the back of the cards. And then you have your standard tips and court cards that are kind of doing some fun stuff. You know, he's laughing, and they all have smiles on their face, which I thought was pretty cool. Not your normal court cards.
Yeah. And now I love the color choice though too for the courts. That red or the yellow doesn't look like that traditional yellow. Is that a metallic ink there?
No, but it's kind of like a. Yeah, I mean, it's not like a typical gold that we're used to seeing, so it definitely, actually, it is a metallic gold.
Yeah, I do see a little bit of a shimmer to it, and it pops nicely. It adds a little bit of flair while still being subtle.
Yeah, it has kind of like a little green tint to it, huh?
Yeah, it's a really interesting choice, and I think it's a great choice in comparison to that traditional bright primary yellow.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And it comes with a double backer and a blank face card. And man, that blue is just so beautiful.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice too, because clearly this is a magician's oriented deck. So to go with a gilded deck that still handles well is awesome, because it adds a little bit of a, splash of excitement to the deck without being overly eye-catching.
Yeah, obviously, in true gilded fashion, when you have white borders, that gilding tends to kind of bleed on the border when using.
Yeah, dude, absolutely beautiful, beautiful gilded deck. I think Chris did an amazing job with that thing, and obviously, like you said, you and I both being huge fans of Paisley, it was exciting to see that deck come out. I love the depth that comes in the back design, that almost like 3D feel to it. Very nicely done.
Yeah, I mean, there's been several Paisley decks come out, obviously, that we know of, and it's cool to see such a different design in the Paisley, section.
Absolutely, man. And you know what? For coming in at number 3, I think that was really a solid deck for the week. I'm excited to see what else we have in store here, man.
Let's see it, man.
So
give us number 2.
Yeah, for number 2 this week, we have the Culturae and Animalis playing cards by Jack Brutus Penny. This deck is printed by EPCC on their classic stock. It is part of a 1,000 deck print run and comes in two versions, a gold gilded and a misgilded silver version. The gold sells for around $32 US. It's $25.50 Great British pounds. And the silver sells for about $22 US.
Oh,
Let's check it out, man. I gotta say, I absolutely love this deck. This is hands down a collector's deck, like no question about it. EPCC doesn't necessarily print the best handling decks, but just looking at this tuck, you know that it is a collector's deck. This thing is amazingly ornate. That has a numbered seal right there, 1 of 1,000, and you can just see how much foil and embossing has gone onto this. Beautiful gold gilding on the tongue flap there. And then inside of the tuck case itself as well, there's this full color pattern similar to that on the outside of the tuck. And then just an awesome back design. It almost reminds me of like an old like oriental rug.
Yeah, I mean, Jack Brutus Penny, man, like honestly, this is his first
And
deck.
he crushed it.
And oh my goodness.
You could see that nice little EPCC handling there, no knock against it, but this is also a couple-year older deck. But really cool thing about this, you not only have full bleed backs, but you actually have full bleed front artwork as well. Beautifully illustrative, and each suit actually has a different animal and a different geographic region oriented with it. So the spades are rabbits, the hearts, I want to say, are cats, or the diamonds are cats, the hearts are birds, and the clubs are dogs. So that carries throughout the entire deck. They also cover different geographic regions historically of the world. So as you can see, the diamonds are somewhat feudal Japan oriented. And one of the things I love the most about this deck is all of the court cards are actually triptychs. So the scene on the Jack, Queen, and King for each suit carries throughout. This is probably not only a beautiful gilded deck, but probably one of the best uncut sheets you can get if you dig this artwork style as well, because that full bleed front design just makes it a very cohesive piece across the board. And then
yeah, I mean, even the full bleed back design, I mean, it's regardless of what side you use, it's going to be beautiful.
Absolutely. And taking a look at some of the artwork on this too, you know, looking at the backs there, you can see how much intricacy and small detail went into this. It's interesting too because I think the camera doesn't catch it on the black suits as well as it could. And even on the red here, those figures in the background, which are kind of shadowy, actually have design throughout the entire shape. It's really interesting to see the depth and minute detail that went into every little bit of this deck.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think it's definitely a little more difficult to see it when it is so monochromatic, you know, where there's no contrast between the colors. But, you know, like you said, you put it up close, you can definitely see the tremendous detail.
And you can also see there that little stutter on the fanning there. The EPCC is a little bit tough with this deck. It's a clunkier deck. It doesn't fan out of the box as well. But EPCC is actually really known as well for having decks that magicians love once they break in. EPCC stock, once broken in, can last I don't want to say a lifetime. No cards will last a lifetime in theory, but EPCC stock can last a very long time once properly broken in. That being said, obviously the Culturae Animalis deck is not really intended to be a magician's deck. It is very much a collector's deck. So that handling is a secondary aspect to it. Like I said, it also does come in a misprinted gilded silver version, which absolutely beautifully done. The cool thing about this deck too is any of the proceeds for purchases actually partially go to support animal rescue local to Jack Brutus Penny's area in Japan, as well as being printed on sustainably made paper and tucks and everything as possible, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, no, that's great.
So dude, you excited for this one?
Oh my God. Dude, this next deck is ridiculous.
It really is, and I am super pumped for it. Let's hear what number 1 is this week, man.
Number 1 is the Gold Certificate by Jackson Robinson of King's Wild Project.
And beautiful.
It is also printed on EPCC. It is a print run of 400, and it retails for $45.
Very nice. Let's check this thing out, man.
This book box is outstanding. You know, you have your typical King's Wild Project book box, but this one's just pumped up a notch.
Next level, man.
You have your ad copy. Oh my god, ad copy on the bottom, and then you have this really cool artwork on the. I mean, I guess that's the pages aspect of it, and then on the inside as well. It's just so beautiful. It reminds me of like when you kind of just run your brush through a glob of paint and just use different colors. It's gorgeous.
You know, it's very reminiscent of the old school lining to hardcover books where you'd get in the spine and the inside of it. Very true to the form there.
Yeah, super, super minimal tuck. As you can see, it does have that band that goes around the top, which kind of mimics, I think, kind of like money.
Yeah, like a money band.
Like a money band, yeah. And that orange gilding is just ridiculous.
And I gotta say, it's an interesting choice too, because of the fact that obviously gold certificate, you'd think it would be gold gilded, but using orange, which seems to complement the back design so much better, was a brilliant choice.
Oh my god, this and dude, for EPCC, handles beautifully for a gilded deck. As you can see, fans, spreads beautifully. But yeah, that orange, and like you said, thinking about it, you would think, oh, gold all the way. But you know, even the gold foil that is on the front has an orange kind of shine to it, so it works out perfectly.
You know, Jackson did a great job with this.
Yeah, there's your ace of spades with just beautiful foil, as you can see it shimmering in the light. I mean, one thing that he just excels at is just beautiful detailed work. You know, he definitely steps it up next level with the paper. You know, it's not your typical colored paper. It's just really gives you the feel of money.
Yeah, and I love the gold outline to all of the pips as well. Just adds a little bit more of that luxurious feel to this.
Yeah, and if you look at the, you know, ultimately you look straight on and it looks like it's all green, you know, and it kind of looks a little bit muddled together, but you turn it just the slightest bit and it just breaks apart that detail and it just looks so awesome.
Nice. You know, this is a fun deck, and this gold certificate deck really just beautifully done. It's funny too, because a lot of the detail is so subtle on the number cards, but it's there, and when you look at it, it's hard to just not appreciate that.
Yeah, and I like the little, I mean, I don't know if you call them scribbles or like scratch marks or something. You know, if you look at all the cards on the borders, you can kind of see some
like wear to it, almost like where.
Yeah,
like,
some movement, I guess you can say.
Like where the bills would have possibly been crumpled from use or something.
Yeah, and I mean, just him adding all that extra detail just really took this to the next level.
Yeah. I love the George Washington there. It's too funny with a little bit of a mustache, it looks like.
The stash. It was a classic stash. Yeah, it's just so beautiful. This, you know, I'm going to go out and say this is definitely my favorite deck that he's created.
Dude, it really is a very nicely done deck. And like I said, I think, you know, thinking gold certificate, thinking silver certificate, all these decks, like you'd think, oh, that makes a lot of sense what color gilding you would go for. But this just goes to show that thinking outside the box for gilding can really pay off. But you need to be conscious of what colors you are picking, because this wouldn't have been a good, I mean, maybe it would have been a good deck for purple, but it wouldn't have been as good of a deck with purple. This orange just pops off the side of this deck.
Yeah, and I mean, Jackson's really good at picking out the right gilding for his decks, you know, and like I said, this is definitely my favorite by far, and I think it fits the deck perfectly. And I think the reason why that orange really stands out, the fit, you know, so well, is because of that colored stock. You know, it's not your typical color. It has that kind of manila folder look.
Yeah,
you know.
No, absolutely. All of the detail that went into designing this so it looks as good as it possibly can, really, it paid off.
Oh yeah, totally crushed it.
Yeah, I love the simplicity of that top inside of that book box. It just looks good.
Yeah, and that brown color. I love that chocolate brown color.
Yeah. Now that is a phenomenal deck there, man.
Yeah, I totally agree.
You know what? I really can't get enough of a good gilded deck, and I'm really curious what everyone else thinks about gilded decks. So leave a comment down below, and we're going to be picking one person's comment next week to highlight in this video. And this week, congratulations to Mepper for picking his 3 favorite decks last week. Thanks so much, everyone, for checking out this episode of this week's Top 3. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.